Hello and welcome to FI for Kids, a podcast about guiding your kids on the path to financial independence and extraordinary lives. I'm your host, Dominic DeLaquil. Our guest today is Dr. Nicholas Michels, who has degrees in psychology and business and advanced certifications in the financial planning realm. He's the author of Rich by Choice, about the importance of aligning your values with your money management so you can be rich, not just in money, but in peace, purpose, and love. So welcome, Nick, and thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Dominic, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So let's start with what you learned about money when you were growing up. I know you've got an interesting backstory there, so tell us about that.
Absolutely. I mean, I love what you're doing here. And for all of you listeners listening right now, I think it's incredible what you're doing because I lived through this. I mean, you know, kids, they see everything. We don't think that they do, but they see everything. They notice everything. And that's where my journey truly began with my why. You know, you have to go back to the mid-1990s. I was 10 years old. I was the middle of four young, wild boys, all a couple of years apart. I mean, my dad was an entrepreneur. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I mean, we were really lucky. And I talk about this is that at 10, I really didn't even know what money was. I just knew, hey, we had a pretty good life. But then it happened. And I remember it like it was yesterday. My mom comes in my room and she looks worried and she puts her arm around me and says, "Your dad and I are getting divorced." And those words literally shattered my childhood as the beginning of the end, because it seemed like overnight my mom went from a stay-at-home mom of four boys to a single mom of four boys working three jobs just to survive.
Yeah.
And you know, my dad didn't have it any better. I mean, as you can imagine, our lives completely changed. I mean, any type of security, vanished, comfort disappeared. Any confidence went out the window because at a very early age, I realized how much money greatly influences your life, either for good or for bad. We have the choice, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that is it. I mean, we went from a big house on one side of town to a tiny house on the other. I mean, that good life I was telling you about, to my mom, I mean, she essentially said, go get all the loose change around the house because we're going to need it. And here, yeah. But Dominic, here's the thing. It really wasn't the stuff. I mean, it wasn't the stuff because, you know, stuff comes and goes, but it was actually watching the emotional and physical pain and toll it took on my mom and my brothers. I mean, that's what really stuck with me. And that lit a fire within me, Dominic. I mean, I wanted to learn everything, to read everything. And that way I could know and understand how to build, how to grow, how to protect, because I lived through it. And I don't want you or any of your family ever have to go through what I did. And I'm actually happy to tell you today, my mom completely rebuilt her life. Like, it's a success story. It's amazing what she did. She's my favorite client. And all of our clients to us are like family. Like, I love them. We're so lucky. They're amazing people. But you know how special it is? After all my mom went through, to be able to look her in the eye and say, "Hey, Mom, you don't ever have to worry about anything again."
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why I do what I do. It's, yes, to help people become rich in money. But it's more than that. Because money's just a tool. It's the life that you lead, the relationships, the experiences you have with loved ones. Like, that's what I get excited about. But money's a part of that. So that's why I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about some of those background things, and we're going to talk more when we get into the book about this, the idea of money as a tool and all those kind of things, because that's so important. But we'll circle back around to that. Let's talk then. So you've got a number of kids, kind of spanning a pretty good age range. So what approach have you taken with teaching them about money?
Yeah, the first thing is, as you can tell from my story, is kids see everything. I mean, they do. They noticed everything. And I remember that because my childhood. I mean, if you're listening right now, think about your childhood. You knew when your parents were having disagreements. You knew when times were tough, the stress you could feel in the house because of this or that. The first thing is to understand that. And so what we try to do is we talk to our kids. You know, we talk to kids about things like, my wife and I are very lucky to own several businesses together. We talk to our kids about the things that we're going through and some of the goals and things that we're working towards. And to always be cognizant that our kids see it all. And so it's good to talk about it, and also to remember that, hey, what we do matters. Like, they're watching. Like, I can tell them, hey, go out and do this and that and this virtue of success, but if I'm not living it, you know, it doesn't mean anything. So I'm always trying to remember that.
Yeah, that idea of modeling is so important, right? I mean, it's important to tell them things. It's important to have conversations. It's important, I think, with money, so much to just not make it this closeted, some sort of taboo topic that we don't talk about. So I think that's great that they're aware of kind of what you're doing and you talk about it openly, but also that idea of modeling also so important. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I mean, absolutely. And I talk about one of the things I love to do is I love to create fun experiences with my kids, and that traveling's part of that. So when we're traveling, like this past summer, we went to family camp. I told my kids, we're at dinner, I said, this is some of the funnest times in my life. I really enjoy this. But this is what we work towards.
Yeah, right.
So we talk about these things.
Yeah, no, that's good, right? So they start to connect those. It's not just stuff that they're able to do. Like there's a price that you and your wife pay to have the businesses and to generate the money that pays for those experiences, right? And then that kind of gets back to your point, Nick, of it's a tool, right? So you're not bringing in money for yourself just so you can have more money. You want that money so that you can provide for your kids, so you can, if they need something, do it. If you've got health things that come up or whatever it might be, or right, that you want to go have these experiences, like you said, are, some of the best moments of your life, but those things all take money. So
that's it.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
And we'll go speak at high schools, and I'll tell the kids, hey, we manage money for a living. So you would think that money involves every aspect of our life. But guess what? So does yours. I mean, money involves and intersects everything of our life. Doesn't mean it's our God and we worship it, but there's a cost. And so it's good for kids to understand this. And one life's not better than the other. It's just, hey, what does opportunity cost look like?
Yeah, and I think that's so important, right? Because if you don't understand, if you're not comfortable talking or thinking about money, and you don't really ever stop to think or understand that it really does have an impact on all these different areas of our lives, then you're giving up control over your options, right? And that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point of FI for Kids, which is if parents can start teaching their kids this stuff sooner, it just gives them more options and more flexibility when they get into adulthood, and then they're not necessarily stuck in a job that maybe they don't like, trading their time for money for who knows how long, while they're trying to figure out or undo financial mistakes they made just because no one ever talked about even the most basic stuff. So,
Dominic, I read this book one time and it talked about, hey, your kids are gonna learn. Let's put it on the table. Our kids are gonna learn about sex, drugs, alcohol, money, like all the faith, all those tough things in life. They're going to learn.
Yep.
We as parents have the option of deciding, hey, who are they gonna learn it from? And so money is one of those tough topics, but once you get over it and you think of it as a tool, is that, hey, you're preparing your kids. Not that, and I want to be very honest, Dominic, I talk to my kids about mistakes I've made. I mean, I don't just tell them the home runs, I tell them the strikeouts too, because, even in baseball, you can strike out 70% of the time and you're still an all-star. Now, hopefully in life your percentage is better, but I think it's important to do that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Nick. I would completely agree with that. I think it is important to do that because they need to see, a couple of things. They need to understand, because especially kids when they're younger, they can idolize their parents so much and just think, well, everything you do is sort of perfect, and or they'll see you at a certain stage when you figured some things out and they don't even know about the mistakes you made 10, 20 years ago or more. And if you're never talking about those things, then they can, again, they pick up on all kinds of things, and sometimes in ways that we don't understand or that we don't intend, and they can just figure, well, I should have this sort of perfectly sort of direct life from where I'm now to where I want to be, and I've made these mistakes and I'm no good. And it's not true, right? Because we've all made mistakes, and one of the big things that is so important in life is the idea of grit or resiliency, right? I mean, you talked about that with your mom, right? I mean, so she had this hardship. It was hard when you were little and she was first in that transition, but she stuck with it. And in the end, right, came out in a great place, like you said. So.
And that is, and that's tough. And we have 4 kids, and there's a big span there. So our oldest, kiddos, 2 of them, kind of saw us grow from my wife and I, of where we were to where we are now. Now the youngest ones, they didn't necessarily see it as much. The grind of, now we have several businesses. Like life wasn't always like that. We had to sacrifice. So it's good, like I said, to have that open line of communication. And another part to add, but how great is it when your kids are 4 and they still think you're Superman? Like I tell my kids when they go to bed at night, I go out and fight bad guys. I'm Batman. But at some point they grow out of that, and like now my 5-year-old Brooks goes, "Dad, you're not Batman." Oh, and he'll say that, but so it's good to say, hey, let me tell you where Dad did learn and make mistakes, and you know how I got through these times, and let me tell you about when your mom and I first got together and we got married, of what it looked like and what we needed to do to get to where we're at today, and why we get to do these fun things now. So that communication is important.
Yep. So let's dive in and talk about the book. So Rich by Choice. So let's just start with talking about that title. Why that title? What do you mean by that? Rich by Choice.
Yeah, so it's two things. One is the play on words. I mean, who doesn't want to be rich? If you go into, if you stand up in Walmart today and say, hey, who wants to be rich? Everyone's going to raise their hand. So it is. It catches people's attention. But it goes further, and then I talk about that in the book. Yes, I want to help people become millionaires, multimillionaires, whatever it is their goal, rich in money. But there's also a richness in life. I use words like millionaire, billionaire. I want people to have, 1 million hugs and kisses from their wonderful grandkids, $1 billion worth of, memories that they save up. Because when we're 110 years old and we're looking back over our life, it's not the money we're thinking about. For us to be in a rocking chair on the porch and go, man, I lived a great life, it's going to be what? The experiences and all those memories. Or it's going to be the regrets.
That's
and
right.
so you don't want those. And so what you need is the money to build wealth, but you want it to align. That's where real richness comes into play, is when you align it with, hey, who matters to you? What matters to you? What are your core values? And that's where it is. I mean, like right now, Dominic, in the United States right now, APA research, 90% of Americans are stressed about money. And 70% of those are extremely stressed. And I want to be clear here. People think when you think about stress about money, you think paycheck to paycheck or quote unquote poor, or what that means. But it goes further than that. I mean, there's very wealthy people that are comfortable on all ends of the spectrum of how much does marital struggles, have to do with finances? Who's confident over, in their future and the direction they're going? So there's a lot that goes into that, and we don't want that for our kids. We don't want that for ourselves. And so that's where the richness comes in. What is a really rich life? And we help people understand that and then align their money. The second thing is choice. We all have a choice. I mean, my mom's living proof of that. You have a choice right now. And that's what I want people to understand. And not only is it a big picture choice of standing up and saying, hey, I want this for myself, I want this for my family, I have a choice. But it's also the small choices and habits we make every day that lead to that big choice of a better life. That was a lot, but that's what goes in, that's my heart, into the title, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot in there, and I think that's so important for everybody, right? This idea of, again, back to money's a tool that's that puts you in a position to be able to do the things in life that matter to you. But one of the core things that goes along with that idea is actually a level of self-awareness and knowing what things matter to you, what brings you that deep meaning and fulfillment, so that you can focus on those, because that helps you eliminate then other things that don't bring you that much joy or meaning, right? I mean, you talked about opportunity cost, and to the extent that you're spending money on stuff that doesn't really bring you that much joy, there's an opportunity cost there, because now you have less to put into another bucket for something that might make you happier. Or at the end of your life, right, you've got that, man, I had all these great experiences and I had this great family, or whatever the things were that you really wanted. And so I think not just the nuts and bolts practical stuff with money, but helping kids understand you've also got to learn about yourself and pay attention to not just your money and how to make that work for you, but what really matters to you, and then make choices on how to then allocate that money, because it all fits together as a comprehensive whole.
You're exactly right. I mean, I read this book one time, and pardon my French, it's the title book. It says F-U-C-K yourself. That's the name of the book, okay? And in there, he's an older gentleman. At the time that he wrote, he was around 55 years old, and he said if he wanted high school six-pack abs, that 4% body fat, which is so tough, he would never have a hamburger, never drink a beer, never do all these things, and he'd probably be miserable to get to that. And so he just said, hey, I don't want that. It's not worth it to me. So get it off the table. Don't be mad at myself if I don't have that, and that's okay. And so why I use that story is just to say, hey, most people, life is so busy. I mean, just think, I'm leaving work and I'm coaching my kids in swimming. I'm coaching my kids in t-ball. Like, life's coming at me fast. just like most of us, we don't have time. We think about the present, we think about the past, but we don't think about the future. So there's strategies and little exercises you can do and say, kind of like your happiness island. When have you been the most happy? Who was around? What were you doing? Really understand, like you said, and when you really understand who you are and what you want, that whole social media thing where Facebook has created more depression in America because people look at it and go, hey, enviness, I want this. But once you understand what's important to you, just like that book I was talking about, you push a lot of the other stuff off the table and go, okay, hey, that's wonderful. I'm happy for these people over here, but I don't want that. That's good for them. But what is it I want? And so that's important.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up a couple things come to mind there, I guess. So you bring up the example of that guy, right? 4% body fat, and he wanted those, those ripped abs. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean when he decides, okay, you know what, paying the price that I would have to pay to get there at 55 in particular, right? I'm not willing to pay that price. That doesn't mean, well, then he just lets himself go and he goes supersize me and eats nothing but McDonald's all the time and and gets, so you can pick all kinds of places in the middle, right? So maybe, I don't know where he's at, but maybe he decided, you know what, I still want to be healthy and that matters to me because I want to be vibrant and be able to do things that matters. So I'm going to exercise and I'm going to eat right, but I'm not going to be so obsessive to try to get to, that 4% body fat. Maybe my goal is, it's 10 or it's 15 or whatever's healthy for him that he feels good about. And also the thing is, in order to get there and you referenced this a couple minutes ago, it's so much of the time, it's not some big major thing that you do. It's the little small actions day in and day out. It's that consistency in actions over time. And that's really how you get to places you want to be, whether it's with your health or your fitness or your money or whatever it might be.
It is. Dominic, you are leading people right now on the path because the path is understanding what's important specifically. What is your definition, ideal, successful life? And that's what I love about what I do is because there's no right or wrong answer. It's completely different to person, and that's okay. Yeah. God bless you. You want to travel the whole world? God bless you. You want to stay at home and garden? God bless you. Because happiness that's subjective. But then the next step is, okay, what are the small things I can start to do to build me closer? And that's when true joy and happiness. It's not, hey, I'll be happy when I get to $10 million, or I'll be happy when I find my life partner, or I'll be happy. No, it's when am I starting that journey of getting 1 inch closer to that and building on it? That's the truth, because it's not going to happen overnight. And if you're listening today, I don't have a magic pill, overnight success. If it happens to you, good for you. But most of it is, hey, it's building it, and what specific action can I take?
Yeah, and and making little sacrifices in ways, because sometimes you don't want to do it. And by little sacrifices, I mean things like, we really want to go out and have this nice meal, but we've already spent X amount this month, and we're kind of trying to make sure we have enough money to save and invest. And so, well, you know what, we can get by and let's do something. We'll eat at home, this Friday night, for example. Or like, I don't, if you're exercising consistently, right, there are plenty of days where it's like, I don't want to do it today. But you also know that if you don't, then you're going to actually then feel a little bit sort of worse about yourself. So some days it's easier to do. Some days you really kind of have to force yourself to go do it. But when you're done, you're like, okay, good. That wasn't my best workout, but you know what? I did it, and I'm still building on that. And this is getting me where I want to go and how I want to be. And that's super important. So it's not always easy. And sometimes you have to give up what seems like the impulse in the moment, but that's just part of having a successful life, right? That's part of having those consistent actions over time. And I think to the extent that we can start to, because in some ways, Nick, money, teaching kids about money is important, but it's a tool to sort of give you that more life later on. But in some ways, it's also a tool when you're teaching your kids at home to teach them these concepts we're just talking about, right? Like, so if you're teaching them about money and they're making choices, you're really teaching them about how to look at their life and how to do all these consistent action things over time, little small things to get to bigger places. And that's not just about money in the end, right? It's about all kinds of things in life.
That's it. You're teaching them to think critically, not just to believe what people tell them, but hey, how about you do some thinking on our own? What's important to you? This is where you want to be. What choices can you make? And I'll also say this, Dominic, when you really understand what's important to you and where you want to be, then you start going, okay, I could go out to, you brought up going out to eat on a Friday night, but is that going to bring me more joy and happiness than getting to our future goal of X, whatever that might be? And then you go, no, I want to be here in 2 years. I want to be here. We don't have to go out to eat. Great. My kitchen, I'm a good cook. So whatever it might be, but just, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to give up ever going out. You're just making choices. So maybe instead of going out, every Friday, you go out twice a month or once a month or whatever you decide, whatever your things are that you balance them out with all these other different things. Right. And again, and I say this all the time too, and you brought this up a few minutes ago, it's a little bit different puzzle for everybody. Everybody's path is different, and that's okay. But the goal is for you to find your path, right? And to do what you can to sort of to stay on it. And as parents, to help teach your kids to find their path.
That's it.
And then guide them as they sort of get started on that path as young adults, help them stay on it or make refinements, because they're still figuring a lot of things out, even when they first get out of the house, right? And so hopefully by then, as parents, you've become the trusted advisor and you can help them. You're not telling them what to do, but you can help them determine what the best decision is that they want to make.
That's exactly it. I mean, that is, and we always have to remember too, that our kids are going to make mistakes just like we made mistakes. There's going to be a learning curve. And like you said, I truly believe that there's nothing wrong with spending money. It's just being cognizant and thinking about, hey, is this leading me to our goals? Like spending money for us, like when we travel, and it's not extravagant, but we're investing in our family. We're investing time together. You know how important that is, that, hey, our net worth might be a little bit more when we're 80 years old or 90, but the social wealth, the family wealth that we're building by investing in time together, that speaks volumes, and that's important to us. So it's just understanding where your money's going, and hey, is it bringing you joy?
Today's episode is sponsored by Travel Multiplier. Do you think that travel hacking sounds too good to be true? That you have to fly standby, or you have to stay in weird sort of off-branded, goofy sort of places, or that you just don't really get the choices and it's not worth it? I used to have the same concerns, but that's not the case at all if you really know how to use those credit card rewards points in the right way. It's real, it's doable to travel in luxury with all sorts of options and choices available to you, and it can change how you travel forever. Use the affiliate link in the show notes or go to fiforkids.com and click on the Travel Multiplier link to download the free guide, The Skeptic's Guide to Travel Hacking, and it'll debunk the 7 biggest myths that are keeping people from flying, staying, and exploring the world for free in a way that works best for them. Yeah, and what's the right balance for you at different points of your life? Because it's a good point, too. You don't want to not live your life for the sake of having money later. You don't want to not plan for the future. So again, you're trying to find the right balance for you.
I talk about that in the book. I talk about the natural saver versus the natural spender. What does society tell us? Oh, well, the natural saver is better than the natural, spender. But it's not true. And I go into that because each one has great qualities. I think God makes us unique and wonderful in our own way. But the spender, the saver, yes, they're investing in the future. They're paying off debt and all this stuff, which is great. But a lot of times, most of the time, natural savers, they're a little stingy. They don't give a whole lot. And then they also sometimes don't enjoy life now. And we've seen it where maybe life is gone tomorrow. But then you have the natural spender, which usually they're great givers. They're like, hey, I got money in my pocket. Let's go all have a good time. But then they sacrifice their future. So the goal is to understand who you are, not good or bad. Take a deep breath, be easy on yourself, but then understand what things can I make automated to protect me from my weaknesses? And that is so important. Not enough people talk about that.
Yeah, that's really good. And I want to just talk about the book just a little bit more because I like, you've got a lot of stuff in there. And so you've done a really nice job, I think, in the book of combining, you've got some numbers things and some practical nuts and bolts stuff in there. So there's definite practical information in there. But you've also got a lot of kind of the things we've been talking about, which are these background things behind it, the why behind it, or how to balance it out, or why all this stuff matters, or the idea of, and I want to talk about this in a second. I know you've said that money mindset is more important than math, right? And that those things are in the book. And also you've got you've got stories, right, from people you've worked with over the years, kind of to give examples and support whatever points you're making. So I haven't finished the book yet. I'm about halfway through, but so far I've been really impressed. I think you've done a great job. And like I said, a lot of information and kind of coming from both angles, plus the stories. So I really encourage anyone listening, if they're interested, and I'll put the link in the show notes, but to check out the book. So,
well, I really appreciate that. And the goal is, and again, thank you so much. That's really nice of you. But the goal is just to be real, because the goal is life. It's not money, but money's a part of our life, but the goal is life. I mean, that's really it. You and I both have probably known people that have a bunch of zeros and a bunch of commas in their bank account, but guess what? They're not happy.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Now, so it's just understanding what's going to make you happy. Now, don't get me wrong. Having more zeros and commas can, help you in certain things, but it's not everything. And so it's just being real of a lot of things that I've seen, I've read, I've lived through, and then witnessed as well. And my wife and I joked before the book came out, hey, what if, even if the book bombs, it's still us teaching our kids all the wonderful things that we've experienced. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So let's talk about this idea of resiliency or grit. And whether you've got some examples from the book or just from clients you've worked with, because I think that's such an important piece of life in general. And it's not something I've really touched a lot on previous episodes of the show. So let's spend a little bit of time on that.
I think that's what life's all about. When my son, our oldest son, who's 19 now, when he was going from his junior year of high school to his senior year of high school, I wrote him a letter, and I just talked about all the things. Like when he sees me, he might see basketball. I have a basketball background. He might see finance, owning a financial firm. But what I wanted him to see was happiness, that I got to pursue the things that brought me joy. And I gave him a list of what I call secrets of success. They're virtues, such as perseverance, grit, happiness, and all these things. But what I should have wrote, and I told him this down the road, was, hey, I don't want you to be happy, but I want you to have perseverance, because happiness is only on the other side of perseverance, because life is tough. Like, life is not easy. Life's going to throw you curveballs. And if you look at most success stories, they went through so many ups and downs. Read the biographies of all the Fortune 500, all these individuals. You're going to go back and see that it wasn't easy. And so anything worth obtaining, you're going to have to get through it. And that's just the world that we live in. You just want to make sure, is the juice worth the squeeze, as they say. Is it what you want important enough? But it's not going to be easy. All life is about overcoming adversity. That's just life.
So any thoughts on how to help teach kids those concepts then as you're raising them and they're dealing with struggles? Because struggles can come up in all sorts of different ways for different kids. It could be social things. It could be their friend groups. It could be academics. It could be sports, right? A kid who really is good for a while and then gets to a point where they're a little bit more advanced. Maybe now they're in high school and then there's more competition and then they're suddenly they don't feel as the top of the pecking order as they once did. And so all those things that's exactly what you're talking about, right? These adversities in life. And so what thoughts do you have for how parents can help their kids kind of work their way through those?
Yeah, the first thing goes back to what we just said, modeling. Like, what are you doing? When things go wrong in my life, I have to look myself in the mirror and say, okay, when I come home and things haven't gone well, or we have a bad break, or life throws me a curveball, am I blaming other people? Am I saying, hey, if this went wrong or if this person would have done that, am I doing that, or am I accepting ownership, waking up the next day and getting back after it? What am I doing? And then also, talking to our kids about, hey, these things that happened, we had to do this, and this. I could, a couple options. I could give up, or I could look at myself in the mirror and say, hey, it's time to cowboy up, as we say in Texas. But then also creating environments. I think extracurricular activities are a wonderful way to teach kids about overcoming perseverance. And it's not just sports. It could be a lot of different musical. You know how tough it is to learn a musical instrument? How many times kids and adults want to give up because it doesn't just come naturally within a week?
Right.
So it's just those things of creating it and not helicoptering and stepping in when things get tough, and we want to, and I want to, hey, make it all easy for them, and dad saved the day to where dad's the hero again. But letting them fail and being there with them and saying, hey, Let me tell you about time I did this and I failed. Let me tell you about what I needed to do. Now you have a choice, son, daughter, we're struggling here. We just lost our starting spot at shortstop. We just, now we're third chair in band. We can quit and give up, or we can wake up tomorrow and put a plan together where we're going to attack it every day and then see where we're at. So I think that's a great way, all those, whether modeling stories about my own life or, getting kids involved. Because here's the thing, kids are our kids, my kids included. They're going to go through the roller coaster of life. It's going to, as much as we don't want it to happen, it's going to happen. And they're going to have choice. They can either give up or they can wake up the next day and keep fighting and using their mind and their heart to fight, for what they're trying to accomplish. So it's putting them in those situations and letting them fail.
And letting them fail, and you actually make me think of something else, because I think it can be tricky. And so this is where I think parents can really help kids determine what choices to make in circumstances like what you're describing. Because sometimes the right answer is you want to give up, but really it's important enough to you. You've got to dig deep. You got to find that grit and recommit yourself and figure out a new plan and keep moving forward. Sometimes it's part of that self-awareness, self-knowledge thing, which is, you know what? I thought I really wanted to do that, but the work that I have to put in, I actually don't. And I feel like maybe it isn't that important to me, or I need to take a break from this activity or whatever it is for a while. Now, it can be confusing even for us as adults sometimes when you're feeling down to know where you stand, right? But going through that process, I think is so important for kids, because it helps them then starts to give them that experience base to decide when they need to push through and recommit, and when, like, maybe that isn't the thing for me and I need to take a break and then put that energy into something else. And as parents, knowing them, understanding each individual kid's personalities and how they react to different things, and helping to guide them, I think is so important.
I think one important thing is a little tip here is what I've tried to do, and I've seen some positive results in this, is I'll find out, I'm part of what my kids are interested in. Like our 9-year-old, she's about to be 10. She's incredible. I mean, we're very blessed. She was into, and currently is, gymnastics and swimming. So when the U.S. Olympics was going on, you see these athletes, like they're on TV, they're center stage. But what I did also was do a little research and say, hey, did you know this swimmer or this gymnast, this is what they went through 3 years ago? Do you know how they had some struggles and setbacks and what they did? And so I think you hit the nail on the head, Dominic, is helping them, hey, is this worth it? Like, because you'll see all these stars on TV and spotlight, but then how many thousands upon thousands of hours did they put in to get there?
Right.
Helping them understand, hey, is that really worth it? Is that really what you want? Hey, if you do, and you do the child, not me the parent, you do the child, I'm on team you. Let's do it. I'm right here with you. Let's figure out a way. If it's not, that's okay. Dad still loves you, and let's find out what you're passionate about. So I think that's important.
Yeah. No, I think I completely agree. So let's talk a little bit about, just because I think this is an interesting story in your background. You had someone in your life after your parents' divorce, and you were working and trying to help kind of make ends meet, who took you under their wing a little bit and started talking to you about money. So just tell us about that, because I think that really illustrates the point of how important it is to have someone who's willing to talk to you about those things and just kind of bring, especially as kids, bring things to your attention that maybe you weren't thinking about. So tell us that story.
Oh my goodness. I'm so incredibly grateful today for this individual. I mean, the positive impact that made in my life is just, it changed my stars. I was 16 years old. I was working at a golf course, and Dominic, this was not a sexy job. I mean, I was taking out the trash. I was cleaning golf carts. I was picking the range in 110 degree heat in Texas. And the golf course owner was Rex. And Rex was an incredible man, and he was a blue-collar golf course owner, which you don't hear about that. I mean, he bought a piece of land, was out there on a tractor, clearing brush himself, which I've never heard of that before. But he taught me about compound interest. He took me aside and just said, hey, let's play a game called Who Wants to Become a Millionaire? And he showed me, and I think I made $6, $5 an hour, nothing. But he showed me if I took a little bit of my paycheck and I put it away with compound interest, and he actually showed me the numbers, not just told me, when I was in my 30s, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but it was a lot of money. It seemed like millions upon millions. It probably was when I was a kid, but it seemed like it. And then a light bulb went off that, oh my gosh, I was empowered. That, hey, my last name didn't have to be Gates, or something like that, rich to become even richer. No, it's I could do it too. That I could start creating a better future than my past. And it was just one thing. It wasn't, I didn't even know what a stock was, a mutual fund, I didn't know what all that was. I didn't know anything about it, but all I knew is, hey, if I did this, I could have power over my actions. If I could do this and be disciplined and leave it alone, that, oh my goodness, I could get back to the life that I had, and there was a way out. And it changed my life in an amazing way.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're super grateful for that guy, to this day.
My goodness.
And what's cool about that too, so showing you the power of that compound interest and what it's the power of what it can be especially if you start young, to manage your money in even the most simple way. Then and you didn't know what a stock was or investments or any of those things.
No.
But then that piques your interest, and then now suddenly you want to learn. Right?
Absolutely. It gets that compounding, our education, it begins the process sooner. Because guess what? Like you said, it piqued my interest. So if I heard another successful individual or I heard something on TV, it would catch what did they say? Let's learn about this. Let's learn about that. And so it just starts that process. And we do this with our clients to where, hey, we'll send a lot of, because I believe in education, that send this to your kids, send this to your grandkids. They don't have to become Warren Buffett overnight. But just like me, if you learn one thing and go, oh, I'm interested in this, and then something else comes along, 3-5 years down the road, you start to build up a tool belt, and you can, use that tool belt to help better your life.
Yeah. No, great. So let's pivot a little bit. So you spent some time playing professional basketball overseas.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what lessons you might have learned from professional sports. And anything sort of the good and bad from that would apply to parents and their kids and money in particular, but also just life in general.
Yeah, the first part when it comes to life is it was luck. I was so lucky. I mean, it really was. It was a blessing that I got to do it, and I got to travel the world, and I loved basketball, and I would have done it for free. I mean, just think, you had 20-year-old, 2 kids, do that, and they give you an apartment, they give you a car, and you get to do this. And just traveling the world, I think, is so powerful because it opens up your eyes that, hey, this is a huge, huge place. Because I think I was from Granbury, Texas, a small town in Texas that I grew up focused on my little part of the map, Granbury, Texas. You know, the news there, what's going, the gossip there, whatever it might be, the drama. But then you got Fort Worth, Dallas, then Texas, then the United States. But then, oh my gosh, there's a whole world and universe. So it lets you realize, and also too, I met so many wonderful people that had different beliefs than I did. Different religious beliefs, different way of viewing the world, different backgrounds. And guess what? We got along just fine because there's a lot of really nice people out there. And if you're nice to people, most of the time they're going to be nice back. And I did that. But it also gives you perspective on the type of life that you want to live. And so that's wonderful. With sports, though, you have to, that word perseverance. There's days that you walk into the basketball gym, you could close your eyes and shoot the ball from half court and it's going in. Those are wonderful days. But then there's also days that you can't make a layup to save your life. And I'm being dramatic here, but you understand the point but guess what? That's life. There's going to be days where the ball bounces your way. There's going to be days that you have a choice to get up and keep fighting, keep attacking. I remember one time I was in college and it was like come down to the end of the game. We were down by 1 point. Coach goes isolation, puts the ball in my hands. I make a move. I get fouled. And I think there's 7 seconds left of the game. I hit both free throws. We go up by 1. The point guard comes back down the court. I pick him up and I'm thinking, hey, they're down by 1. He's going to the hole. He's after the percentages. He's going to the hole. All of a sudden, he stops about 3 feet before the three-point line, pulls the trigger. And I'm like, oh, no. I put my hand up, and right as he released it, I said, oh, please, God, no. Just in time to turn around and see it go right through the net. We lost by 2. So it just lets you know, and that hurt. That hurt.
Sure.
But now, in the reality of life of what other people are going through, it's a basketball game, I get that. But in that concept, but then the next day, guess what? I got up. And, you had to shake it off and keep going back. So that's one thing sports taught me, and also preparation and discipline. From a money standpoint, when you look at when I was playing overseas, the exchange ratio is wonderful. My agent, we negotiated where I got paid in euros. So for every €1 I brought back, 1.6 US. So every 10,000 was 16,000, and you go from there. And so it started saying, hey, this money thing, and how can you make money work for you, and the business side. And so that was pretty unique, and I really enjoyed that. Last thing I'll say this when it comes to parents with kids. I used to run basketball camps again all over the world, and I'd tell the kids three things: your faith, perseverance, and work ethic. They'll take you anywhere you want to go. Now, at the time when I said it, I meant it with all my heart, but I was wrong. And I'll tell you why. Athletes today, the genetics in certain sports are amazing. If there's a child out there and they don't have, look at LeBron James. He's 6'8", 250 pounds. What he can do is incredible. Now, Michael Jordan's the best basketball player of all time, but LeBron's incredible. But the point is there's certain genetics that go into that really help. Money is not like that. We can all grow and skill and understand when it comes to money and business. And so it really opened my eyes that, hey, I might be at a disadvantage because so-and-so, they have their genetics and things like that. But in the business and money world, oh my goodness, there's not that. The competitive advantage doesn't tilt. It's a skill that I can learn, I can grow, so can our kids. And I thought that was wonderful and eye-opening to me.
No one's ever said that before, Nick, and I hadn't thought about it in that way, but that's a really fantastic point, right? Because money's not like that. We're not all going to be, Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to be to have this great life with financial independence, and financial independence even long before traditional retirement age, if that's the goal you want to set for yourself, especially if you start young, right? Or parents, you can get your kids on that path early. They can have that option for themselves, and they don't have to have, billions of dollars. They just need to have enough to support the lifestyle that makes them happy. All the things that we spent most of the whole episode talking about, and that's within reach for all of us, right? Even people that don't go to college and don't have higher paying jobs, especially if you start young and you've got a lower paying job, if you've got some basic financial education and know-how, and you apply those things consistently over time, financial independence is within reach for all of us. So great point.
Absolutely. And then it comes to opportunity cost. I could become a billionaire. I could help someone else become a billionaire. I could. But is it worth it for how many hours and the stress on your health and the time away from your family? Is it worth it to you? And that's I'm not saying a right or wrong. I'm just saying, is it? So like you said, is that opportunity cost?
Yeah. Yep. So where can people find you if they want to reach out?
Absolutely. I do have a free gift for everyone listening. If you go to our website, richbychoicebook.com, www.richbychoicebook.com, and right there in the home screen, you're going to see click free resource. And you put in your email address, it's absolutely free. Click on the chapter next that says compounding. And this is really special to me. This is a very powerful, because no matter what's going on in your life, your kids, your marriage, money, your finances, business, health, everyone thinks compounding is about money, but compounding, like I said, is every aspect and area of your life. And we have a choice. Is it compounding for good or compounding for bad? And it gives you a simple, easy exercise with actionable steps that you can start building on that. And that's a wonderful thing. So go there, click on that, and anything. We have multiple videos there. And Chelsea and I, my wife, who's my life partner but business partner, we go through in deeper of, hey, let's talk about these key areas which go through the book, but how really it played out in our lives. Both mistakes, mostly me, but then the triumphs and success stories as well.
Okay, I will put a link for that in the show notes. Any last words of advice for parents out there, or even young adults? Anything that they could maybe do in the next couple of weeks to just start moving themselves forwards towards financial independence?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it comes to working with your kids. I call it going fishing. When you're working with your kids, sometimes it feels like you're not making any headway. But trust me, you are. They're listening. We do a lot of different things with our kids, whether it be the Kiyosaki Rich Dad Poor Dad board game where it teaches about assets. Now, that game takes a long time to play, so we create some things that make it a little faster, where their goal is, hey, how do they buy assets that generate income that they can stop their day job if they want? So it helps you with budgeting. It helps you with understanding about about assets. And then we help them, one of our kids, we help them create a budget of our own household. And what is their percentage of what it costs for them to live in our household? And then there's other things out there, such as, there's free stock market games where you can put fake money in a kid's account and start to understand, hey, why are you buying XYZ investment? Tell me what it is and why you're owning it and what your goal is. So it just gets kids thinking. Those are, three things that we have tried to do and we've seen positive results. Now, are our kids Warren Buffett? And the answer is no. They're not. Are they going to be Warren Buffett tomorrow? No. I mean, Warren Buffett, what is even Warren Buffett? That's a progression. It took him a long time. So that's one thing is just, hey, keep fighting the good fight. I know there's going to be days where that it just doesn't seem like it's clicking with the kids, but it is. You're building and you're progressing towards you want. So just don't give up. That would be the biggest thing. And do that for your own lives. You talk about personal finances and growth, same thing. Keep pushing forward and put it on the calendar that, hey, once a day, once a week, I am going to watch a video, read something good. That way, 3 years from now when I look up, it's compounded my knowledge and I'm here now and I used to be here. And then 3 years from there, you'll be here. And so do the same thing with yourself.
Yeah, that idea of compounding is of being more than just about money, I think is such an important concept, right? Like you've got that guitar in the background, whether you're trying to learn music or you were doing sports or anything that you're trying to learn, whatever it might be, and all aspects of our lives, building on those things, right? That compounding applies to everything. So that's a great concept. And the book, again, is Rich by Choice by Dr. Nicholas Michels. So I encourage everyone to check it out. It's a great book. Nick, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think it's been a great conversation and you're doing great stuff out there. So thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate it. Everybody, God bless. And I appreciate the time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the FI for Kids podcast. Please support the show by hitting subscribe and receive new episodes every Thursday. The intro and exit music this episode are courtesy of Douglas Cameron. As always, you can find links to the FI for Kids music in the show notes. Thanks again, and we'll talk next week.
You're like the horizon. I can't reach you, you're so far away. And if I run to the place I want you to stay, you'd be gone. I've been left wondering why you move